Shane Willis is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, sir. You were on with the fellas, my friends at WRAL TV5 last night, and you said that the Canes needed a reset. How do you reset from last night? What is the reset?
Well, I was actually talking with Chris Lee when we were off air because he was asking from a player's perspective. I said last night's probably easier to flush and get rid of than game one or losing a real tight game in overtime because you're analyzing the mistakes even more. I think it's easy last night to go into the room and say, that's not how we play. Let's get ready. Let's rest. Let's focus going into Florida and come out and play how we play hockey, and that's Hurricane-style hockey, getting the forecheck, managing the puck way better than they did last night, and trying to get on the score sheet first so they're not chasing the game.
With the stakes so high going into last night, why did it unravel so easily?
I think it unraveled so fast. I think early in the game, the puck management, the turnovers, and when you're doing that at this stage of the game, when you have the four best teams left in the National Hockey League, if you're going to turn the puck over, you're going to make mistakes. I think even if you look in the other series, Edmonton had the same problem, but it was in the third period. Right. And you allow a great team opportunities like the Florida Panthers, and every time they've had it, you have to give them credit because every time they've had an opportunity, they've made the Hurricanes pay and they put it in the back of the net. And it happened again early last night, and you're reeling. And when you're playing one of the best four teams in the league right now, it's very difficult to come back in these games.
Shane Willis is joining us here as we get ready for Game 3 and hope Carolina can win one of these two and make a Game 5 so Lenovo Center gets a chance to show out again. I know you say it's easier to flush a game like this, but does a performance like that in a game that had so much riding on it, given a 1-0 series deficit already, does that run the risk of destroying any confidence you might have?
No. I think it should fuel this locker room more than it ever has before because that type of performance should drive, and we talk about the character inside that room all the time. The leaders will be their best, and when they're their best, everyone follows along. I think they have to utilize that frustration and knowing what happened last night to be the best game, not the best game that they played in this series, but the best game that they played the entire playoffs in Game 3. And I sit here today knowing and still have the confidence that this team can play better because we haven't seen their best. I go back to even last year. They were up against the wall against the New York Rangers and fought all the way back in that series before losing one here at the Lenovo Center to get knocked out. So the ability is there. Obviously, both teams coming out last night, it sounds like there's more guys, and you'll see this every game, getting banged up. Will this player play in Game 3? Reinhart leaves the game for Florida. That is a huge hole. So the Hurricanes have to completely refocus. You have a good team meeting today before flying to Florida and look across the room and say, we can do this. And you have to have that belief because you've done it all season long. You've done it in these playoffs. Florida's not been great at home, which is strange.
Right.
So you have an opportunity, but I just think the first period, the lead is extremely important in Game 3.
Yeah, it's hard to even tell if Carolina, would have done better than they did because it unraveled so quickly. And I do want to point out that I thought Florida's pressure definitely helped Carolina turn the puck over for the first goal. The more I watch it, the more I go, maybe Sean Walker shouldn't have passed the puck to Andre right there. Maybe he should have just aerial flipped it out of the zone and given Carolina a chance to kind of reset themselves. But they were under pressure a lot from the Florida Panthers. Shane Willis is joining us. Would you make a lineup change? I know Rod made one before the game. He put Jankowski in and took Kotkaniemi out. Is there anybody you think, anybody else you think should come out?
I mean, I think all the cards are on the table at this point because the other thing you have to think about when you're going into the other team's building is matchups, right?
Right.
And Florida now gets last change, and you have to set your lines to be able to handle those matchups. So I think Kotkaniemi goes back into the lineup. Who comes out is the toughest question, the hardest part for any coach, right? Is anyone else injured? We don't know if there's any injuries coming out of that game yet or who is a game time decision. But all those things are going to be a factor. But I think the matchups, that is what Rod's going to look at to see who he puts in and how he kind of changes his lines, if at all, going into Game 3.
Shane Willis is with us. Seth Jarvis left the game. I don't know if there was an injury or if he had his bell rung. I have no clue as to what happened. Is there any update on that?
No update on that front, or Sean Walker looked to be ailing a little bit after the game. So no updates on that, as the team will not skate today. They're having a team meeting and then going straight to the plane to fly to Florida. So all of those updates will be morning skate tomorrow, right? Everyone's eyes will be on the ice of who steps on, who looks good, who looks sharp, and maybe, the lines kind of unfolding a little bit tomorrow morning for Rod Brind'amour. And it's this time of year. Every team, as you said, Sam Reinhart left the game for Florida too. They definitely have guys that are ailing, that are getting through. So each game is a little bit of a mystery that way. But the one thing we've talked about with the Hurricanes all season long, when you talk about depth and pieces they added, the guys that are ready to jump in. You look at a guy like Tyson Jost, who is energized and I thought was playing great at the end of the season. Do you put a guy into the lineup like that is just going to bring sheer energy and a little bit of a veteran piece to the puzzle, who's completely fresh? But I think those are going to be the hard decisions. And on the plane down to Florida, the conversations that the coaching staff is having of how do we prepare and what is the best lines to put on the ice to get the first win of the series.
I agree. I like Tyson Jost drawn in. I've said this before. I would have gone to him in like a couple of other games earlier because I think he was, every time he has played, I think he has been an impactful player. For what he is asked to do, playing with energy, play with a little physicality. I think it just suits his game a little bit more. And I'm not saying that Jackson Blake should come out of the lineup, but it looks like he's been a little overwhelmed by the situation. Final thing, would you consider Kochetkov in net?
I do. I think it's a conversation. Not, again, a lot of people texted me last night when they were asked about the goaltender. I mean, you could beat 5-0. It wouldn't matter if Freddie saved everything but one. You lost the game.
Right.
And two of them were point blank across the crease. So it's a conversation, right? And if you're going to do it, to me, it's in Game 3, because if you lose Game 3, you're in a massive hole against the best team, from last season. So that's another conversation. But besides your lines and the injuries you're facing, do you make that very tough decision? And, that's the hard part for coaches. When to make the decision, when to make the changes, or you don't make it and you continue to ride Freddie Andersen because he's been so good through the first 2 rounds of the season. Tough decisions, but again, the team has to look forward and feel comfortable with whichever direction they go in the crease as well.
Do you think that there were any bad goals? Because I draw a distinction between bad goals and, that was savable. You're not banging a goaltender for not coming up with like the Gustav Forsling shot that made it 1-0. I don't think that's a bad goal, but I do think that it was a stoppable shot. What are your thoughts on Freddie's performance in the first 2 games of this series?
I don't classify any of the goals as bad in my mind. I think where I look at it is the goals that have gone in, those were ones that he saved in the first 2 rounds, right? And you were like, he's keeping them in the game right now.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Freddie Andersen, are we even talking about this situation right now?
Correct.
I think Florida has done a really good job of pushing him back in the crease. When you talk about Freddie, when he's on his game, he's big, he's using that size. And a few of the goals last night, he's back. He's on the goal line, and they're capitalizing with more traffic in front of him. Bad goals? No. But in the first 2 rounds, he was making those, close to highlight reel saves, keeping this team in and giving them a life. And in this series, it hasn't been that, but I'm not going to classify those as bad goals. I think he's competed and done what he needs to do to kind of give him a chance. But when you're scoring 2 in the first game and 0 in the second,
doesn't matter.
We can't be staring at one situation and not the other.
No question about it. Shane Willis, appreciate your time, my friend. I will talk to you. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you for Game 5. That's my level of optimism.
I'll see you for Game 5, my friend.
All right. Shane Willis here on the Adam Gold Show.